Welcome back to AI Unraveled, your weekly strategic briefing on the business impact of artificial intelligence. It is the third week of January 2026. OpenAI has said no to the biggest company in the world. In a stunning strategic pivot, Sam Altman rejected a deal to power the iPhone so he could build his own hardware instead. That decision pushed Apple into the arms of Google, creating a new AI superpower alliance for the next generation of Siri. But the drama doesn't end there. Elon Musk is now suing OpenAI for $134 billion. Meta is laying off metaverse teams to buy nuclear power, and Anthropic just released a tool that lets anyone, coder or not, hire an autonomous AI agent as a coworker. Also today, Cursor's agents build a web browser, Matthew McConaughey trademarks his face, and we look at why Microsoft is offering to pay your electric bill. But before we dive into the weekly rundown, are you drowning in dense legal text? Jamgamind is the new audio intelligence platform that turns 100-page healthcare or energy mandates into 5-minute executive briefings. Whether you are navigating Bill C-27, Canada, or the CMS 0057F interoperability rule, USA, our AI agents decode the liability so you don't have to. Start your specialized audio briefing today at jamgamind.com. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Now, let's unravel the week.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Sunday, January 18th, 2026. And if you are listening to this, you've probably spent the last week just watching the push notifications stack up on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
And feeling this very specific kind of vertigo. I have to say, looking at the stack of news from just the last 7 days, I think we're going to look back at this week, January 12th through the 18th, as a real historical pivot point.
It certainly feels that way. I mean, usually when we sit down to do this, we're talking about a version update or a new model benchmark or
Right, a new feature.
maybe a cool new app feature. But the tectonic plates of the industry shifted this week. We are not just talking about code anymore. We are talking about the fundamental structures of the tech world, kind of breaking apart and reassembling.
Exactly. We're convening for our weekly AI Unraveled briefing, and the whole dynamic has just completely changed. We used to talk about chatbots. This week, we are talking about shattered alliances between the biggest companies on Earth. I mean, specifically Apple and OpenAI. We're talking about lawsuits the size of a small country's GDP.
Yeah.
And we are talking about physical constraints, energy, and hardware that have nothing to do with software.
And that's the key theme here. If you're a developer or an investor or just an executive trying to keep your head above water, you really need to pay attention to what happened this week. We are seeing physical realities finally overtaking code as the primary bottleneck for AI.
Yeah.
We sort of hit the phase where the rubber meets the road, and that road is getting very, very expensive.
So our mission today is to parse the signal from the noise. We've got 5 massive narratives to unpack. First, the divorce of the century. OpenAI rejecting Apple, and Apple rebounding with Google.
Which is a story in itself.
Oh, absolutely. Second, the legal war. Elon Musk suing OpenAI and Microsoft for a staggering $134 billion.
And we really need to dig into that lawsuit because it's not just about the money. Not at all. It's about the soul of the industry and a very, very strategic attempt to slow down the competition.
We're also going to talk about the rise of co-working agents, specifically what Anthropic and Cursor are doing that sort of changes the definition of employee.
Yeah, from chatbot to colleague.
Right. Then we'll look at the physical pivot, Meta killing off VR jobs to build, power plants, effectively?
It's not far from the truth.
And finally, the end of the free data era featuring Wikipedia and Matthew McConaughey.
Sounds like a fever dream when you list it all out like that.
It does.
But it all connects.
It really does. Okay, let's unpack this. Segment 1, the platform wars. The headline news that just stopped everyone in their tracks this week is that OpenAI has officially rejected a partnership deal to build hardware for Apple.
This is huge, and I do not use that word lightly. For months, I mean, arguably for the last year, the rumor mill was betting the house on the iPhone 18 being the OpenAI phone. The expectation was a deep OS-level integration where OpenAI would perhaps even help design custom silicon, or at least be the exclusive intelligence layer.
Right. It just seemed inevitable. Apple needs a brain. OpenAI needs distribution. It's the perfect marriage. But OpenAI walked away. Why? Why would anyone walk away from Apple? I mean, Apple is the golden ticket. You get into the pockets of 2 billion users overnight.
And that's exactly the point.
Yeah.
And this is where the strategy gets so fascinating.
Yeah.
OpenAI does not want to just be a utility in someone else's pocket.
Okay.
If they had taken that deal to build hardware components or that deep OS integration for Apple, they would essentially be resigning themselves to being a back-end service provider. They become the Intel Inside of the AI era.
Intel Inside used to be a good thing, though.
It was a very profitable thing, but Intel never owned the customer.
Right. Apple owned the customer.
Apple owned the customer. And OpenAI's leadership, and this just speaks volumes about their confidence, they clearly believe they are not a component supplier. They are a platform. The rejection suggests that OpenAI has its own hardware ambitions.
So that's the speculation, right? That they don't want to power the iPhone because they want to, replace the iPhone?
Precisely. They want a direct relationship with the user, not one that's mediated through Apple's interface, whether that's a dedicated device or smart glasses or, something we haven't even imagined yet. They want to own the ecosystem. You looked at the Apple deal and they saw a ceiling. They want the sky.
Wow. That is a massive, massive gamble, but it leaves Apple in an incredibly tight spot.
Oh, a terrible spot.
They need a frontier model to make Siri competent. I mean, let's be honest, Siri has been lagging for a decade. So OpenAI walks. Who did Apple turn to?
They pivoted to their old rival. Apple has officially chosen Google Gemini to power the next generation Siri.
The frenemy dynamic is alive and well. This is just wild because Apple and Google have been at each other's throats over privacy and search for, 15 years?
It's the ultimate pragmatic move. Apple is swallowing its pride to stay competitive. They know their internal AI efforts, Ajax, Apple Intelligence, whatever they're calling it this week.
Right.
They aren't catching up fast enough to the GPT-5 or Gemini 1.5 ultra-class models.
Right.
But the details here are really what matter. Reports are indicating it's a white label experience.
Well, label. Okay, let's clarify that for everyone listening. That means when I ask Siri a question on my new iPhone, it's Google Gemini answering, but I don't see a Google logo anywhere.
Exactly. It looks like Siri, it sounds like Siri, but the brain is Gemini. Apple licenses the intelligence but keeps the branding. It allows Apple to pretend the magic is theirs while Google gets the data and, of course, the licensing fee.
And for Google, this has to be a massive, massive win.
It's the ultimate validation. I mean, think back to 2023 and 2024. Google had such a rocky start in these AI wars.
Oh, yeah, they were seen as lagging, bureaucratic.
Stumbling with those early Bard demos. Now, in 2026, Google Gemini is the engine room for the world's most valuable device maker. They have effectively won the platform war for this cycle.
It's just incredible. Apple provides the skin, Google provides the brain. But there's a side note here about OpenAI's business model that we have to touch on. If they're not taking Apple's licensing money, which would have been billions and billions of dollars of high-margin revenue, how are they keeping the lights on? Because we also saw news this week that OpenAI has begun testing ads in ChatGPT.
Yes, and that is directly connected. You cannot look at these two stories in isolation. If you refuse to be a utility for Apple, you have to monetize your user base directly.
So they're going after the user.
They are moving from a pure subscription model to, most likely, a hybrid ad-supported model.
Which puts them in direct competition with Google and Meta for ad dollars.
Exactly. It signals that they are doubling down on being a consumer-facing media and product company. They're betting they could build a better ad business than they could a licensing business. It's high-stakes poker.
Well, speaking of high stakes and just massive amounts of money, let's move to segment 2, law, ethics, and the boardroom.
The $134 billion question.
Literally. Elon Musk is suing OpenAI and Microsoft for $134 billion. I had to reread that number 3 times. $134 billion. The allegations are antitrust violations and mission drift.
It's just an eye-watering sum.
Yeah.
To put that in perspective, that is larger than the entire GDP of many nations. It's a Dr. Evil amount of money.
Is this actually about the money, though? I mean, does Elon Musk need another $134 billion, or is this just Elon being Elon?
It's complex. On the surface, the argument is about mission drift. This idea that OpenAI started as a nonprofit to save humanity, and then it morphed into a for-profit maximizing revenue from Microsoft.
Yeah.
Musk is basically arguing that he donated to a charity, and they turned it into a hedge fund.
Which, to be fair, is a sentiment a lot of people in the open source community share.
It is. A lot of people feel that way. But if you look at the timing, this feels like a very strategic move to slow down competitors. Litigation consumes time, attention, and resources. Discovery phases force companies to reveal internal communications.
So slow them down how?
Well, imagine if OpenAI's leadership has to spend 20 hours a week in depositions and document review instead of product strategy.
Oh, wow.
Imagine if they have to turn over every single email about their future roadmap to Musk's lawyers. By launching a suit of this magnitude, Musk is just throwing a wrench into the gears of the OpenAI-Microsoft alliance, right as his own company, xAI, is trying to play catch-up.
So it's legal warfare as a business strategy.
Exactly.
But there's a specific detail in the lawsuit that I found really spicy. It involves a company called Merge Labs. I hadn't even heard of them before this week.
Yes, and this is where it gets really interesting regarding conflict of interest. They came out in the filings this week that OpenAI has invested in Merge Labs. And Merge Labs is a brain-computer interface, or BCI startup.
Like a brain chip.
Exactly like a brain chip. But here's the kicker. Merge Labs was co-founded by Sam Altman.
Wait, hold on. Let me get this straight. OpenAI, the company Sam Altman runs, is investing in a different startup that Sam Altman also co-founded.
Correct. And that feeds right into Musk's narrative. He can argue in court. Look, this isn't a nonprofit benefiting humanity. This is functioning like Altman's personal venture capital fund, using OpenAI resources to pump up his other investments.
And it gets even more personal because Merge Labs is a direct competitor to Neuralink,
which is Musk's brain chip company. Precisely. It's personal, it's financial, and it's strategic. Musk sees OpenAI funding a direct rival to his own separate business interests, using money that, arguably came from the ecosystem he helped start.
Wow.
That specific investment in Merge Labs is likely going to be a focal point of the litigation because it's so tangible. It's not some abstract mission drift. It's a wire transfer.
It's like a soap opera, but with billions and billions of dollars on the line. And amidst all this chaos, the talent war just keeps churning. We heard about the thinking machines boomerang.
We did. The talent pool at this elite level is incredibly small and, frankly, a bit incestuous. Two co-founders of Thinking Machines, that's the lab started by Mira Murati after she left OpenAI, have already left and returned to OpenAI this week.
So they left, went to a startup, and came right back.
In a very, very short window. It just shows that even with the lawsuits and the ads and all the drama, the gravitational pull of OpenAI's research density is still very, very strong. Researchers want to be where the compute is. You can have a great idea at a startup, but if you don't have 100,000 H100s to run the experiment on, you're just stuck.
Which is a perfect segue because having the compute is one thing, but how we use these tools is changing. We're not just chatting anymore. Let's talk about segment 3, agents in the wild.
This is the shift from chatbot to employee. This is the moment we've been waiting for.
Two big stories here. First, Anthropic launched cowork. This sounds like exactly what I need. It brings Claude Code capabilities to non-coders.
This is a paradigm shift in user interface. I mean, until now, if you used an LLM, you typed in a box, you got text back, and then you had to go do something with that text.
Right, you had to copy-paste the code or write the email or move the file.
You were the API glue.
Right, I'm the middleman. I'm the friction.
Exactly. And Anthropic's cowork removes you as the middleman. It allows the agent to execute workflows directly on your desktop. You can organize files, run tasks, maybe open applications. It's not chatting about work. It is doing the work.
So it's less like a smart encyclopedia and more like an intern sitting at my computer.
An invisible intern that works at the speed of light. And the implications for enterprise productivity are just massive. If an agent can handle the boring 80% of administrative workflows, sorting invoices, moving data between PDFs and Excel, that frees up humans to do the actual thinking.
Or it frees up the company to hire fewer humans. Let's save the labor market doom for another day, because if that wasn't enough, we saw an even more shocking development from Cursor.
Cursor, the AI code editor.
Yeah.
They announced that their AI agents built a functional web browser from scratch.
From scratch? That just sounds incredibly complicated.
It is incredibly complicated. A web browser is not just some simple app. It involves rendering engines, networking, security protocols, user interfaces, history management.
The whole thing.
It is one of the most complex pieces of software to engineer. For a team of AI agents to architect and code a functional browser is a massive, massive signal.
Okay, so what does that signal to a developer listening to this?
For developers, it means the era of autonomous coding is accelerating faster than anyone anticipated.
Right.
We're not just talking about auto-completing a line of Python anymore.
No.
We were talking about architectural construction. We were talking about software writing software.
And for investors, what's the signal there?
For investors, this is the Henry Ford assembly line moment. for software.
Yeah.
If agents can build complex software like a browser with minimal human oversight, the marginal cost of producing software is dropping to near zero.
That is terrifying and exciting at the same time. If the cost of software drops to zero, the value has to move somewhere else.
It does.
And right now, it looks like the value is moving to the physical world. Software needs hardware to run on, and hardware needs power. This brings us to segment 4, the physical pivot.
This is where reality hits the road. We can write all the infinite code we want, but we cannot print infinite electricity.
And the news from Meta this week was just brutal, but so telling. Mark Zuckerberg is cutting 1,500 jobs at Reality Labs, his beloved VR division, to fund Metacompute.
He's killing his darling to feed the beast. For years, the metaverse was the future. It was the identity of the company. Now, Zuckerberg realizes that AI is the immediate future, and AI is hungry. Metacompute is a massive capital allocation shift. I mean, they're talking about gigawatt-scale data center.
A gigawatt scale? That's like a nuclear power plant's worth of energy for one facility.
Yeah. Basically, yes. A gigawatt is enough to power a medium-sized city. And they need that for one data center.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the energy cliff. We are running out of power capacity. It's becoming such a problem that Microsoft has launched a Good Neighbor initiative.
Which sounds nice, good neighbor, but what does it actually mean?
It means Microsoft is offering to pay the full power bills for communities that host their data centers.
Wait, like the whole town's power bill?
That is the implication.
Yeah.
They are effectively subsidizing municipal power grids. And why? Because data centers are bad neighbors.
Right.
They're loud, they hum, they use massive amounts of water for cooling, and they drain the local grid, which drives up prices for everyone. Communities are starting to push back. Zoning boards are saying no more.
So Microsoft is saying, we will pay for everything if you just let us keep the servers running.
Exactly. It's a return to the old company town model. Tech giants are effectively becoming utility subsidizers. It really shows that the constraint on AI scaling is not chips anymore. It's not the code. It is electricity and local politics.
And geopolitics. We can't ignore the news out of China this week regarding the NVIDIA H200 chips.
This is a fascinating inversion. Usually we hear about the U.S. blocking exports of chips to China.
Right.
But this week, it was the reverse.
Yeah, China has blocked the import of NVIDIA H200 chips.
Yes. And you have to ask, why would they do that? Don't they need them?
Exactly. Aren't they just shooting themselves in the foot?
They're taking short-term pain for long-term gain. By blocking the superior American chips, they're forcing their domestic tech giants, companies like Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, to stop relying on NVIDIA. They're forcing them to buy local hardware, like Huawei's Ascend chips.
So China's trying to decouple completely.
They are artificially creating a market for their domestic chip makers to accelerate their own self-sufficiency. I mean, if Alibaba can buy NVIDIA, they will because it's better. But if the government says they can't, that money flows to Huawei and Huawei gets better faster. We are seeing a bifurcated world emerge. One AI ecosystem running on NVIDIA and Western power grids, and a completely separate one running on Huawei chips and Chinese infrastructure.
So we have a split world, energy shortages, massive lawsuits. But who owns the actual data that's feeding these beasts? That takes us to segment 5, creative rights and the end of free data.
The era of scraping the internet for free is officially over.
And the face of this revolution is Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, all right.
I knew you were going to do
I
it.
had to. But seriously, he trademarked his face and his voice.
He did. He secured trademarks for his likeness and his biological identity.
And this is the celebrity defense. It's actually brilliant.
How is it different from just, copyright?
Well, copyright protects art that you made. Trademark protects a brand that you sell. And in a world where AI can clone you perfectly, your face is no longer just your face. It's a logo.
It's intellectual property.
Exactly. McConaughey is creating a legal template. If you use his voice to sell a car in a deepfake, he doesn't just sue you for defamation. He sues you for trademark infringement.
And that's a much stronger legal hook.
Much stronger. It treats his identity like the Nike swoosh. You can't just put a swoosh on your shoe and sell it. Soon, you won't be able to put McConaughey's face on your ad and sell with it.
That's smart. But for the rest of us, or at least for the internet at large, the big news is Wikipedia.
This is very significant. Microsoft and Meta have officially begun paying Wikipedia for training data.
For years, Wikipedia was the free lunch for every single AI model. It was the foundation of GPT-3, of BERT, of everything.
And now the lunch bill has arrived. By agreeing to pay, Microsoft and Meta are establishing a precedent. High-quality, human-curated data is now a paid commodity.
So what does that mean for the little guy? You know, if I'm a startup founder and I want to build a new LLM, I can't afford to pay Wikipedia and the New York Times and Reddit and everyone else.
And that's the consequence. This raises the barrier to entry significantly. We're calling it the Wikipedia tax.
Yeah.
The incumbents, Google, Microsoft, Meta, they can afford to pay it. New entrants cannot. It effectively cements the dominance of the big players who have the cash to buy the rights to human knowledge.
So the moat just gets wider.
Much, much wider. The open web is effectively closing its doors to scrapers.
Okay, before we wrap up, I want to do a quick rapid-fire round on health and science. Because while everyone is busy suing each other, there is some actual good emerging from all this.
Absolutely. The headlines are dominated by conflict, but the utility of AI in biology is accelerating quietly in the background.
We saw NVIDIA and Eli Lilly launch a $1 billion AI drug discovery lab.
$1 billion, just dedicated to the intersection of silicon and biology. They are building a feedback loop between the dry lab, the computer simulation, and the wet lab, the actual experiments.
And then there was an AI model trained on 1 million species to design new medicine.
Yes. Evolutionary medicine. It looks at the biological history of 1 million species to predict how to design new antibiotics or gene editing tools. It's using the data of evolution, which is millions of years of R&D done by nature, to shortcut the discovery of medicine.
See, that gives me hope. It's not just about ads and chatbots.
It's about saving lives, eventually. That is the real promise here.
So let's bring it all home. What does this all mean? What's the synthesis?
If we synthesize this week, I think we're seeing the industry mature. And maturity is messy.
Yeah.
Lawyers are involved. That's the $134 billion suit. Utilities are involved. That's the power bill crisis. And labor itself is changing. That's the cowork agents. We're not in the Wild West experimentation phase anymore. We're in the industrialization phase.
Industrialization is the perfect word for it. It feels heavy. It feels physical.
It is physical. That's the lesson of January 2026. The cloud has come down to earth.
You know, I have a thought I want to leave the listener with. We talked about Microsoft paying your town's electric bill. We talked about Anthropic's agents doing your desktop work for you. We talked about Google powering the phone in your pocket.
Where are you going with this?
Well, if they own the power and the labor and the interface, how much of your daily life is actually yours anymore? We are moving from using these tools to living inside their infrastructure.
That's a haunting thought.
It makes me wonder, are you a user or are you just a resident in their digital city? And if you're a resident, do you get a vote?
Judging by the news this week, probably not.
On that cheery note, make sure you check the show notes. We've broken down the details of that $134 billion lawsuit because there is a lot more to it than we could cover here.
It's definitely worth a read.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next week.
That wraps up our briefing for the week. The signal for this week is divergence. The industry is splitting into two camps. On one side, companies like Apple and Google are partnering to integrate AI into existing platforms. On the other, OpenAI is rejecting partnerships to build its own hardware and ecosystem from scratch. At the same time, the physical reality of AI is diverging from the digital dream, as Meta and Microsoft scramble to secure enough gigawatts to keep the servers running. Before we go, a reminder for the leaders listening. Are you drowning in dense legal text? Djamgamind is the new audio intelligence platform that turns 100-page healthcare or energy mandates into 5-minute executive briefings. Whether you are navigating Bill C-27, Canada, or the CMS 0057F interoperability rule, USA, our AI agents decode the liability so you don't have to. Start your specialized audio briefing today at djamgamind.com. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Please subscribe and share. Until next week, keep unraveling the future.